Step onto the sweltering practice fields of the Virginia Mason Athletic Center in late July, and I promise you, you can literally feel it in the air. It's not just the summer heat radiating off the artificial turf, it's the suffocating, undeniable, overwhelming weight of expectations. Here on NFL Nexus, we know that to really understand football, you can't just look at the stat sheets or the Sunday box scores. We look at the very foundation of how a championship roster fights to stay alive. The Seattle Seahawks are absolutely surrounded by the deafening noise of Super Bowl repeat chatter right now, but what you see on the surface, it's kind of a mirage. The real story, the absolute truth of their 2026 season, is happening right this very second, in the dirt, away from the primetime lights, in the grueling dog days of camp. Welcome to today's Explainer.
So what actually happens the day after a team wins it all? To understand Mike Macdonald's third season as head coach with the Seattle Seahawks, we really have to look past that shiny Lombardi trophy sitting in the display case. We have to stare directly at the brutal, unrelenting war of attrition that is an NFL training camp. Look, when you win a championship, you instantly become the hunted. It's just a fact of the league. Every single team spends the entire offseason reverse engineering your playbook, poaching your top assistant coaches, and figuring out exactly how to exploit your tiniest weaknesses. But the biggest enemy a defending champion faces? It isn't the rest of the league. It's their own sideline. It's the reality of injuries. It's the creeping reality of age. It's the inevitable, inescapable truth that the exact 53-man roster you won with last year simply will not be the exact roster you take the field with this year. You either adapt or your dynasty dies on the vine before it even gets a chance to bloom.
And that brings us to the core of what we are breaking down today. This explainer focuses on the hidden stakes behind two massive, pivotal storylines completely dominating Seattle's camp right now. First, we have an incredibly tense backup quarterback battle. And second, a critical, potentially devastating defensive injury in the secondary that could literally make or break Seattle's 2026 repeat hopes. You know, casual fans look at the starting lineup, they see the big household names, and they assume everything is totally fine. But true football minds know that the ultimate strength of a title contender is entirely dependent on what happens when the first string goes down. These battles aren't just guys fighting for a random spot on the bottom of a 53-man roster. They are the ultimate insurance policies for a franchise that has absolutely everything to lose this year.
Let's dive right into Section 1 of our explainer, the backup QB clash, a classic showdown of the safe veteran versus the high-ceiling prospect.
Okay, we have to start with the most vital insurance policy in all of professional sports, the backup quarterback. Because right now, a totally fascinating philosophical clash is unfolding in Seattle. You have a franchise trying to navigate the razor's edge of repeating as champions. That means every single snap, even in a sweaty Wednesday morning practice, is being scrutinized under a microscope by the coaching staff. Now, looking at this table, we know eighth-year veteran Sam Darnold is the undisputed starter. He cemented that with his incredible resurgence and his early success in his Seahawks career. But check out the stark contrast in experience between the two men fighting to back him up. Drew Lock is entering his 7th year in the National Football League. Jalen Milroe? He is just coming off his rookie season. When you are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, the backup quarterback isn't just a fun developmental project. He's your safety net. If your starter takes a violent, unexpected hit on a Sunday in November, the man stepping into the huddle dictates whether your season stays alive. But having a player with Milroe's raw, explosive athletic ability just waiting in the wings presents a massive, undeniable temptation for this coaching staff. This isn't just a battle of throwing skill. It's a battle of two completely different timelines colliding in one quarterback room.
So let's break down the two profiles. On one side, you have Drew Lock, and he is doing absolutely everything in his power to seize control of the role he held last year. He knows the system, he knows the personnel, he knows the blocking schemes, and he is the ultimate known commodity. Lock represents stability. He represents keeping the ship afloat if things go completely sideways. On the other side, you have Jalen Milroe. This is the young, dynamic prospect drafted in the 3rd round last year to potentially be the future successor to Darnold. Milroe represents the great unknown ceiling. Now, to truly understand the gravity of this decision, we have to look at the guy calling the plays. Offensive coordinator Brian Fleury comes from a San Francisco 49ers system built under Kyle Shanahan. That is a system that historically survives and thrives on the backs of poised, system-fluent quarterbacks. Fleury highly values veteran stability. His entire offense relies on rhythm, strict timing, and lightning-fast processing over wild scrambling. Naturally, that gives Drew Lock the inside track, right? But you simply cannot ignore a prospect like Milroe, who has spent a full year quietly learning the intricacies of this offense and is now visibly ready to unleash his massive physical potential.
The absolute most crucial point in Drew Lock's favor is this number right here, 28. That is 28 career starts since he was drafted in the 2nd round by the Denver Broncos back in 2019. Guys, that brings a level of game-tested, battle-hardened veteran experience that simply cannot be overstated if Sam Darnold goes down. Drew Lock has actually stood in the pocket and seen those complex, disguised cover-zero blitzes on third down. He has operated in chaotic, lungs-burning 2-minute drills with the game on the line and 70,000 opposing fans screaming at the top of their lungs trying to mess up his cadence. He even started 2 high-pressure games for these very Seahawks in the 2023 season, orchestrating a massive, unforgettable game-winning drive against the Philadelphia Eagles. He understands the terrifying, visceral speed of opposing NFL defenses. For a team with Super Bowl aspirations, putting a player with 28 actual NFL starts into a high-leverage game is a massive security blanket. The Seahawks know exactly who Drew Lock is, they know exactly how he processes information under duress, and perhaps most importantly, they know exactly what his floor is.
Conversely, let's look at this number: 0. This number represents Jalen Milroe's total pass attempts during his entire rookie season in 2025. It was a year spent strictly learning, holding a clipboard on the bench. Sure, he appeared briefly in 3 games, but he literally never threw the football. 0 live NFL pass attempts. That is a terrifying reality for a championship team, considering putting a young, unproven player exactly 1 snap away from the starting job. College highlight reels are absolutely fantastic to watch on YouTube, but when the bullets start flying for real, all the practice reps in the world cannot simulate a 300-pound defensive tackle bearing down on you while you desperately try to read a rotating veteran's secondary. That 0 represents a total lack of live-fire processing speed. It is a massive psychological and experiential hurdle that Milroe has to overcome in the minds of Mike Macdonald and Brian Fleury. They have to wholeheartedly trust that if he enters a game down by 4 points in the 4th quarter on the road, he won't panic.
But here's the twist. Jalen Milroe is actively challenging Lock right now, today. He is taking a year of observation and translating it into undeniable, explosive action on the practice field. He is stringing together incredibly strong days in camp, drastically outperforming what we saw during his rookie campaign. He's confidently making throws into incredibly tight NFL windows that he simply couldn't make a year ago. Just recently, he unleashed a beautiful, high-arcing, absolute moonshot of a deep strike, hitting rookie wide receiver Emmanuel Henderson Jr. right in stride down the sideline. And this wasn't just against air. Henderson had to narrowly escape tight coverage from fellow rookie Andre Follett to make the play. It's cinematic, jaw-dropping plays like this, plays where Milroe's sheer arm talent and alien athleticism are on full display, that force the coaching staff to pause and rethink their entire strategy. If Milroe can consistently show this level of explosive playmaking while minimizing the mental errors that plague young quarterbacks, it creates a genuine dilemma for Seattle. Do you take the safe, known floor of Drew Lock, or do you gamble on the immense, dynamic, game-breaking ceiling of Jalen Milroe?
Let's shift gears for Section 2 and talk about Macdonald's defensive revelation and the absolutely critical next man up mentality happening in the secondary. Moving to the other side of the ball, we can see how this theme of attrition builds into an entirely different kind of tension for a championship defense. You know, Mike Macdonald made his name in Baltimore as a defensive mastermind, right? He built this incredible reputation on the illusion of complexity. His scheme relies heavily on absolute precision, specifically in the secondary. The back end of his defense is where pre-snap communication literally dictates survival. The old saying goes, offense sells tickets, but defense wins titles. Which brings us to a massive, immediate, terrifying hurdle for the Seattle secondary this year. You can have the most ferocious edge rushers in the entire league, but if there's a single miscommunication in coverage on the back end, it's an automatic 70-yard touchdown for the opposing offense. When a defense that fundamentally relies on deep chemistry and veteran leadership loses a keystone piece right as training camp ramps up, panic can easily set in. The margin for error suddenly vanishes into thin air.
And the defense just suffered a heavy blow when star safety Nick Emenwari was officially placed on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. This isn't just a minor camp absence where players dealing with some soreness and taking a vet day. This instantly creates a dangerous, glaring void in Macdonald's defensive backfield. Emenwari is a player who dictates the entire tempo of the game. He is the enforcer who erases mistakes made by the linebackers. He's the guy who strikes absolute fear into opposing quarterbacks, even thinking about testing the deep middle of the field. Without him on the grass, the entire geometry of the Seattle defense shifts. Opposing offensive coordinators will immediately test the seam to see if the replacement can hold up. Someone has to step up immediately, not just to fill a spot on the depth chart, but to command the respect of a veteran defense and hold the line for a team that expects to win the Super Bowl.
Stepping right into that blinding spotlight is Bud Clark. Now, he's a rookie, but he is not your typical wide-eyed first-year player just trying to figure out where the team cafeteria is.
Drafted 64th overall on day 2, this 6'1", 24-year-old safety brings a surprising amount of seasoned grit to the table. Why? Because he played 6 full seasons at TCU in the Big 12. Think about that for a second. That is an absolute lifetime in college football. He has seen countless high-octane spread offenses. He has survived grueling, high-scoring shootouts against some of the absolute best offensive minds in the amateur ranks. He brings a unique, hardened maturity that you rarely find in a rookie. When you lose an elite star enforcer like Emin Worry, you don't just need raw athletic ability to replace him, you need someone who won't completely freeze when the overwhelming complexity of an NFL playbook hits them square in the face. Clark's extensive collegiate resume and battle-tested background are exactly why he's being trusted with vital first-team reps right now.
And Macdonald's intense, yet wildly optimistic approach to his new rookie safety is so revealing. Macdonald is asking the world of Clark right now. He's noted that it isn't perfect yet, but he loves the way Clark goes about his business. I want you to really think about that phrase Macdonald used, come out of the fog. It perfectly encapsulates the psychologically overwhelming nature of an NFL training camp for a rookie. The complex play calls, the dizzying pre-snap motions from the offense, identifying the Mike linebacker in a split second, the sheer terrifying speed of NFL wide receivers. It all creates a thick, disorienting mental fog in your brain. Macdonald is explicitly telling Clark to just trust his instincts, rely on those 6 grueling years of college experience, and let the game slow down naturally. And it's working. He is rapidly adjusting to the blistering speed of the first-team defense, he's building crucial communication relationships with the cornerbacks, and he's mastering his assignments. If Bud Clark emerges from that fog successfully, Seattle might just have found their next great defensive star.
All right, for Section 3, let's look at the big picture. The Super Bowl stakes and the incredible, compounding pressure of the 2026 season.
We really need to zoom out for a second and analyze exactly why these two specific camp battles matter on a grand, franchise-altering scale. This isn't just about shaping the back end of a 53-man roster for a rebuilding team that's just happy to be there. This is about legacy. This is about a franchise attempting to cement a true NFL dynasty. The compounding pressures on this roster are absolutely immense. The team is desperately attempting to validate the loud Super Bowl repeat chatter surrounding them. But to do that, they have to navigate a total minefield. The offensive coordinator demands a strict preference for veteran stability, making the Drew Lock versus Jalen Milroe battle incredibly tense. Meanwhile, the defensive secondary must weather the violent storm of the Amon Worry injury without missing a single beat, putting the weight of the world squarely on the shoulders of a rookie like Bud Clark. And hovering above all of this is the terrifying reality that one bad snap, one unfortunate hit in the pocket, separates Sam Darnold from whoever wins that QB2 job. Every single decision being made in these sweltering August practices is a calculated, massive risk that will directly dictate the fate of the franchise come January.
Which brings us to the final section. What happens next? We are entering the preseason proving ground.
Let me tell you something. Talk is incredibly cheap in August. Potential means absolutely nothing until it's proven against a live opponent who genuinely wants to take your head off. We are about to transition from the controlled, heavily whistled environment of the practice field to the absolute chaotic violence of game day. As impressive as Jalen Milroe has been throwing gorgeous deep balls in shorts and helmets, it doesn't finalize the depth chart. For Milroe to truly unseat a safe 28-start veteran like Drew Lock on a team with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations, he has to undeniably prove his leap in development under the live lights. If Drew Lock just goes out there and plays steady, clean, totally mistake-free football, it's his job to lose. Milroe needs Lock to struggle, and more importantly, Milroe needs to be spectacular when the vanilla defenses vanish, the exotic blitzes arrive, and the hits actually count. The preseason isn't just a meaningless exhibition for this roster, it is the ultimate unforgiving proving ground.
And that leaves us with this final, incredibly thrilling question as the preseason officially kicks off. Can these untested, dynamic players, Jalen Milroe and Bud Clark, become the unmissable breakout stories of the year? Can they rise out of the fog, step into the massive voids left by injury and expectation, and help secure a dynasty in Seattle? Or will the overwhelming pressure of a Super Bowl defense force Mike Macdonald and Brian Flores to rely strictly on the known safety of their veteran depth? The tension on the sidelines is palpable right now. The consequences of these impending decisions are absolutely championship-altering.
The real answers begin revealing themselves the very moment the ball is kicked off this weekend. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know who you think actually wins this high-stakes QB2 battle, and tell me if you think Bud Clark can hold the line for the defense. Down in the comments section below.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and support NFL Nexus by becoming a channel member so you can catch all our upcoming premium explainers as we track this Super Bowl contender all season long. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.